What's going on? Right now I'll be sharing with you my 10 favorite exercises for muscle building, and I originally got this idea from Alex Leonidas. Shout out to Bald Omni-Man as well for the idea of this video. So I'm making my own version. Understand that these exercises are gonna vary from person to person. This is just my personal favorites as of 2024. I can make an updated version later on, but throughout the years I've been lifting, these have been some of the most bang for your buck lifts that I've gotten the most out of. Some of them are a bit more recent, but nonetheless, very bang for your buck, money lifts overall. So follow along, we're gonna go from 10 all the way up to 1. So number 10 on the list, and this is actually a recent discovery for me. I've always been doing a lot of single-legged work, in the form of split squats, whatever the case is. But I really like the amount of output I could get on this single leg press. So I know it's a bit of a tongue twister. Not me trying to reinvent the wheel by any means. I just like it for the output purposes. I could really take one leg to absolute failure, which is very rare to do on other lifts. Sometimes this is the whole stability factor. It can get a bit shaky, but this really gets the job done. So you guys are probably noticing why I put these mats on, or should I say these blue Erics pads. The reason why is because this actually helps me get a deeper range of motion. So I get more stretch in the glutes, it's great for the quads. If you want to get a bit more quads, you want to make sure that foot is not sitting too high, so get it somewhat lower. Another thing I want to mention is you don't want this knee to hit the platform either. So I like to set up where my knee is really close, but it's not gonna touch it, so there's no risk. You wanna actually pull these handles. You wanna pull yourself down like you're doing a trap bar deadlift. Shout out to Nick Gloff for the analogy, but you wanna stay stable. This is gonna keep you really tight. You're locked in, you're ready to go. If you guys don't have this apparatus, this is actually a horizontal leg press, a horizontal hack squat, I mean. If you guys don't have access to this, you could also make do with a regular leg press, but I personally like doing it on a horizontal hack. So I'll show you guys right now a couple reps look like. So I stop right here. I'm maybe like 2 fingers away from the platform with the knee. My knee is pretty close to my chest. I'm gonna drive my hands down, press away. I personally like to do these dead stop. So I go, touch it, come right back up. And what I really like about this is that this foot, my right foot, is not assisting me in any kind of way. So I find that on split squats, which I'll still do, especially for a lot of clients, they could cheat the system and lift heavier by using that back foot, but this foot is not doing much. It's literally just there. I'm not moving it either. I'm just keeping the foot down right here. Hold down tight. Boom. So you want to go as low as you can if you're trying to hit quads without this heel rising. So if I go here, but as I'm lifting, the heel rises, I don't want that. So I'm going to go high enough. I get some decent amount of quads. Just like that. So great way to standardize all your repetitions. And this is why the single leg press is number 10 on the list. So number 9 on the list, I chose a bilateral dumbbell curl, and I like this because every gym has access to dumbbells and just feels very natural for me, natural at the wrists, elbows, and shoulders. So all you're gonna do is, you see some people, they'll start off neutral and then they'll curl into it. I like to do these while starting in the supinated position. I feel a better bicep stretch at the bottom, and I'm just gonna curl like so. So a couple things, this is how I like to personally do it. I like to actually keep my elbows a little bit in front of me. So the dumbbell is not actually resting on my thighs. Have it just a slight bit in front. Okay, so just like this. And I don't bring it too high either. I bring it roughly shoulder level. So it goes here. So nothing fancy here, but notice I'm not throwing it. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just getting a basic curl in. What I like about these as well is if you don't have the best supination in the wrist, it's okay, because I don't either. So you could actually go into like a semi-supinated grip like so, kind of like you're doing an easy bar. Just come up like so. So you see it feels really natural here. And to take these to failure, once I can't do any more and I get to that point where, let's just say my last repetition looks like really slow, Put them down, and as opposed to resorting to cheat reps, I'll just go one at a time. Get a little bit of lateral flexion in, it's okay. Keep going. So you guys are probably wondering, why did I not pick the barbell curl? The barbell curl, personally, for me, I know it's a popular lift, but I just feel super restricted. Obviously, if I'm lifting like a broomstick, I could get it done, but once I get to anything with some appreciable amount of weight, it just doesn't feel the best on my elbows. So that's partially why I picked the dumbbell version instead. So number 8 on the list is the one-arm dumbbell row. Classic back exercise, you can't go wrong. I've been performing this lift for a long time, but I made certain tweaks and modifications to how I execute it. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, you know that I've done the cheat style. I've done absolutely like the most strict, with the most pauses, but now I'm in a happy medium where you're gonna see how I do it right now. So all you're gonna do is grab onto a bench. I like using a bench for external stability, so I could have, a new reference. I don't like to put it too high because then I'm basically standing up. So I want to do it like a bent over row, but with one arm. And you're gonna notice I do what's called ipsilateral style. So that means if I'm rowing on my left arm, my left leg is gonna be in front as well. So I'm trying to get a lot of my body weight on my left side, so I can't really compensate much with the right. So check this out. So basically, you stand in front of the bench like so, hinge, like you do an RDL, and now from here, you're gonna take this opposite hand, hold onto the bench. Myself, I like to actually get my forearm on it, but if you wanna hold it, that's fine. And then from here, as I'm in this hinge position, I'm gonna get a split stance. So I'm gonna get this foot back. I'm gonna get a nice hinge. You wanna make sure when you're in this position, you're not gonna round. It's very common. So maintain the hinge. Get this hips back as much as you can. Now I'm in this nice position. Most of my weight is on this foot, but this foot is still there for extra stability. And then from here, look down. I wanna reach forward. But as I'm reaching, I don't want my whole body to go with it. I'm just gonna reach to let the scaps breathe a little bit. And then with this foot, I'm gonna try to scrape the floor a little bit. So I'm in this position, I'm locked in. And then from here, reach, drive back. Reach, drive back. So I like the thumb side of the dumbbell to touch my chest. I'm trying to go nice and high. And I don't want to meet the dumbbell halfway or anything like that. I don't want to rise up. I want to stay in this nicely hinged position. With the reach, drive back. I'll always pause at the bottom in the reach in the stretch position, and I'll just touch lightly, come back. So, very solid. It's number 8, one-arm dumbbell row with a split stance, ipsilateral. So next we got the basic shoulder press, but not just any type. It's on a Smith machine on a 60 degree. So you guys are probably wondering, why don't you just keep it simple, Phil? Keep it at 90 degrees, and then you're good to go. My problem with the 90 degree on a shoulder press for a lot of people is they'll do this, right? They'll pop it right here. And once they put any type of real weight on the bar, they start doing this. I could literally fit arms through this, and eventually they're almost close to even falling off the bench at times. So you're probably thinking, okay, put it a little bit higher. This is still better, because at least you're getting your center of mass more back. But unfortunately for a lot of lifters, as the weight gets heavier, see the same thing happen again. So it's not to say it's bad, this is just for myself, but for a lot of clients I coach, a lot of like Gen Pop, I like to put it at a 60 personally. In certain cases, if they have really good overhead mobility, then I'll put it to like 75, but usually I'm gonna put it to around 60. And if they're not competing in any type of overhead sports, they just wanna get bigger shoulders, 60 degrees is perfectly fine. So as far as the execution when you're on a 60 degree, I don't like it when the hands are too close. I don't like it when it's too wide. I like somewhat shoulder width. Okay, you're gonna unrack. And here's a misconception for the full range of motion people. They say that like you always have to touch your chest. This is in an ideal world, but it's not necessarily a set in stone rule. It's not necessarily a powerlifting competition. So if you have a situation where you're right here and you go to your chin and you get a good range of motion like this, but any lower and your elbow is going back of you and you don't have access at the moment, it's okay to stop at the chin. You're still getting good range of motion. You're still stacked with the elbow in the hand. Still come up like so. So very solid, very stable all around. I really like lifts that have a good amount of external stability, but I also really like the dumbbell shoulder press at roughly the same degree for the bench. You can have it at 75 degrees. Just make sure the elbows are not completely flared. You want to stay in that scapular plane. You want to be stable. I like to have a lot of pause reps. I like these for higher reps as well, anything from 6 all the way up to 15 reps to really smash the shoulders. So next, and this has been a lift I've been performing ever since the basement days. You guys have probably seen this in a lot of my push sessions. It's the weighted push-up, and I like this off of blocks to get a deeper range of motion in the chest and triceps. So I personally don't like putting plates on my back. I know it can still be done. I just don't like how they slide. It's just annoying, you know? So that's why I got the vest for other lifts as well. But the main reason was for inverted rows and obviously push-ups as well. So grab blocks. I understand that not everybody's gonna have access to a weighted vest. It is worth the investment. This one goes up to 100 pounds. You could also just take a backpack like my man Alex does, Leonidas. So that's obviously a viable option as well. This is just how I do it. I like to have my fingers off of it, so I don't necessarily have to have a flat hand. Grip it like so. Get into this position. One important cue is a lot of people will stop in the retracted position. I like to let my scaps breathe. So I like to get a nice reach on this movement to get more range of motion, also get some serratus activation as well. So as opposed to starting here, like a lot of people, here, fires the abs too. And from here, go down, come back up. So I really feel my triceps, really feel my abs, obviously feel the chest. So always pause the top, pause the bottom. If you want to make these even harder, you could do a 3 count at the bottom. You want to make sure as you're coming up, you don't only lift the upper body, you want the whole body to come up at one time. Next is the chest supported T-bar row. This gym right now does not have it, but the other gym I train at has that apparatus. But for the sake of this video, I'm still gonna show you guys a chest supported row. And also if you guys train at home or if your gym doesn't have a chest supported T-bar, it's not the end of the world. You can still make do with the dumbbells. I personally prefer the chest supported T-bar. I like the profile of it a bit better. I like the overloaded stretch you get at the bottom, but you can still make do with the dumbbells. It's still solid. I still incorporate it for myself in certain cycles and for clients, right? So all you do is get down like so. You want your chest to be on the pad. While I'm here, reach like so, tuck the chin. So don't be all the way here. Reach without crunching the whole body, and then drive back. So these have always been a staple in a lot of the programs I write, my programs as well. You can't go wrong with the basic chest supported row. You could also go like a 45. You feel great. For a lot of upper back focus, you could go pronated like so. That's the one where you can't lift as heavy, but nonetheless, chest supported rows, definitely staples. So next we got the safety bar squat with the heels elevated. If you guys have seen previous videos, I've done reviews on squat ramps, but lately I've actually just been using 5-pound plates. It's all good, still gets the job done, and it's obviously relatable to you guys. So the safety bar, I really like it because if you don't have the best mobility in the shoulders, you can still just hold on to these handles. Some people may not have access or maybe feel that comfortable in this position, but everybody feels good going right here. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's a low reach. So from here, come like so. And this safety bar keeps me more upright, so I get more knee flexion. I can just go all the way down. I like pausing on these as well. Come back up. If you guys have done a hack squat that's done at 45 degrees, this feels very similar to that, except it's not a machine. So you really can't go wrong with a safety bar squat if you're trying to build bigger quads. Not a knock on the back squat or high bar squat, or the front squat. It's just a personal preference. I really like the safety bar squat. Next, we got the RDL off blocks. The reason why I'm doing it off the blocks is because this is what my mobility allows for. Anything lower than this on RDL, and I'm rounding a bit too much for my liking, so come right here, like so. Hinge back as much as I can. Top. So, you're probably wondering, why don't I just do it off a rack? Just pause in this position. The reason why I've been doing it off blocks lately is because it just helps me standardize my repetitions that much better, where I know that for an absolute fact, every repetition is touching the blocks, I'm pausing on the blocks, I'm not bouncing off them, and I'm really loading up the whole posterior chain. So next we got the classic pull-up. I personally like to do this with a neutral grip if I have access to it. Roughly shoulder width grip, nothing too in, and I go slightly wider in other phases. Right now I'm actually working with a lat pull down, but that's another topic for another video. But the pull-up always had a special place in my heart because I remember when I first started lifting and I had the doorway pull-up and I would just do hundreds and hundreds of reps, you know, training in the park, doing some calisthenics, whatever the case is, doing hundreds of reps there, and that's how I built a good amount of my back width. But with that being said, I still go back and forth with pull-down machines, hammer strength machines for my vertical pulls. But with that being said, with the audience watching, you guys all have access to a pull-up bar. Still think it's very solid nonetheless, and it's time tested, it's a classic lift, so grab it like so. So I always like to pause on these at the bottom, pause at the top. So really can't go wrong. The difference with how I do the pull-up now compared to before is before I was doing a lot of singles, doubles, triples, you know, tying up tons of plates to my waist and just doing repetitions like that. But nowadays I treat it more like a volume exercise. So I'll go from anywhere from 8 repetitions to 15, some cases even 20 repetitions, and I'm really trying to get more volume with obviously no weight on my waist. But nonetheless, very solid lift, and that's why I like to pull up. So number 1 on the list is the incline barbell bench. I chose this because everybody has access to this at their gym, but more so for myself, it's because I really like the amount of hip flexion it puts me in. So when you put me on a regular bench, I don't have the longest legs, and if the bench is a bit higher, it tends to really make me arch my back, and I don't get the biggest range of motion either. So if I sit down on this bench, okay, I could actually adjust this to the lowest setting, and now my knees are almost as high as my hips. Okay. Mind you, the gym that I train at, I could actually get the seat even lower so my knees are a bit higher, which feels good for me. I don't tend to arch as much as I would on the bench. And also, I get a way bigger range of motion, which is a huge benefit. So I don't go too wide, I'll go maybe a bit wider than shoulder width. I like the fact that a lot of these incline benches have a self lift off, which is really nice as well. But check the range of motion that I'm able to get on this. Nice pauses. So I really feel these nicely in my chest. And it's also a good range of motion for my triceps as well. Works the front delts. I don't tend to arch too much on these as much as I will on a regular flat bench, which is a plus. Bigger range of motion, you get more out of less weight. Also the fact that when you're going really heavy on the bench, sometimes you might actually need a lift off from somebody else in certain cases, but this, you can't go as heavy, so I don't need the lift off. I'll rarely even ask for a spot on this incline bench as well. So it's really bang for your buck lift. Hands down my favorite pressing movement at the moment right now, and I could also do this for low reps as well. Feels really good. So I'll do 3 to 5 repetitions, and it's pretty much what I'm rocking with right now. So let me know what you guys think down below. These are my 10 favorite lifts at the moment. This could change later down the line, but as far as early 2024, this is what we're working with. These are the lifts I like. So comment down below your 10 favorite lifts. Let me know what you guys think about this particular list. Is there any lift that you might have learned, any gems you might have picked up, you're gonna start applying into your training? Let me know. See you guys next time.